Welcome back to my channel. I am Chris. I am a registered yoga teacher. I have a specialization in trauma-informed yoga practice, meaning I help people move through psychological and emotional pain by reconnecting with their body. If you are not subscribed to the channel still, please go ahead and subscribe. I put out new videos all the time. I'm being more diligent about doing that, committing myself to sharing what I know about the process of healing and connecting with your body as often as possible. Alright, so what is it that we're talking about today? We are talking about the 5 fears that keep us from either getting on the mat or healing from whatever trauma it is that you've experienced. We're not going to get into my story today. I will share with you in another video about some of the things that I've gone through that were traumatic, but it's not necessary to always reopen those wounds or to share. I know a lot of people find solidarity in that, and I'm happy to share some of the things that I've experienced with you, but perhaps in a different video, isolate it from this. Today we're talking about those 5 fears. And I am a pastor's kid, which, trauma there too, but I love alliteration. So 5 fears, they start with an F so that you can remember them. The first one is going to sound very like, oh duh, we know that's a part of it, and that is the fear of failure. A lot of people are afraid to get on the mat because they're afraid of how they will fail. They're afraid of the weaknesses that they'll find. Same thing goes for healing. Sometimes we get in our head about whether or not we're going to be able to do all the things that need to be done to get to a place of homeostasis, of healing. And that's a fear of failure. And many times if you've dealt with abandonment or abuse, the fear of failure is heightened because you know what it feels like to either be told that you're a failure or to have messed up in some way where your abuser makes it pretty clear to you that they believe that you are a mess up, a fuck up. I'm just going to use that language. This channel is about being honest. I have debated on whether or not I would be more professional or more clinical in the way that I speak, but I am going to do this channel the way that I want to do this channel, and I'm going to be myself in these videos because I want you to see the honesty of what I'm saying, of how yoga has changed my life and given me the ability to not only walk into situations that would have triggered me beyond control, but to rebuild relationships that I thought were gone forever, and rebuild my relationship with myself to the point where I like myself, which is someone that has gone through trauma can often be difficult to do because we will put a lot of responsibility on ourselves for what has happened to us. Okay, so that's the first thing that we can get faced with is that fear of failure. Look at what I just did. I was afraid by saying the F word that I had failed. But moving through this, honestly, I'm able to not shut down. I can just say, it's okay to say the F word, especially to those of you out there who feel constrained by the emotional upheaval that's happening internally, where everything is having to be micromanaged because you're so afraid of losing control. All right, that brings us to the second of the fears, which is a fear of flooding. And what I mean by flooding is that oftentimes, okay, for example, today I was cleaning my bathroom and I just wanted to clean the tub and I wanted to mop the floor. But I realized that the grout in the tiles was so gross, so dirty. And I was like, I don't even want to start cleaning this tub and like have this portion clean and then this part nasty and dirty. And sometimes when you start to get into trauma recovery, you'll think you're working on one thing. You'll be like, okay, I am working on this one event. But as you start to open this Pandora's box of things that have happened to you, there can be some real intense flooding of other realizations. I have come to realizations that people who I once thought were allies had actually wronged me, that I had protected them in my heart and in my mind because I was scared of losing them and had not recognized the fact that they were a part of some of the systemic abuse that I was dealing with. And so I wasn't able to come to terms because I was still having a relationship, an unhealthy relationship with people who were a part of the trauma that I had gone through. And that was like, okay, too much flooding of, there's too much to handle here. And that happens with everything. It happens with your body too. You get on the mat and you say, I just want to do a down dog. But then you find that your shoulders might be tight, and then your hamstrings are tight. And it's like, well, I can't do this, so I have to stretch, I have to strengthen, I have to get my core activated. What does that even mean? And yoga can feel like that too. But it's okay. Taking it one step at a time, it's worth it. That flooding, you can work with professionals to learn how to take little bits at a time, just as much as you can handle. And the same on the mat. You do not have to be standing on your head. You never have to stand on your head. I barely stand on my head because I don't really care about standing on my head or twisting into a pretzel. What I care about is being able to move my nervous system into a place that helps me not feel crazy. Because I felt crazy for years. I mean, truly. Okay. That brings us to number 3. Number 3 is a fear of fulfillment. Now, what could I possibly mean by a fear of fulfillment? There's a couple different ways that we can define this. You may have an idea of what that means to you, but for me, as an artist, as a writer, there was always this beauty that came out of pain. I could always write more poignantly, more poetically, more in-depthly when I had gone through some event and I could feel my emotions overflowing. And then I was afraid that if I got well, that I would become dry of my art, of my inspiration. That if I was well, that I might not create the same way. I mean, think about all the beautiful music that we love. So much of it was created out of pain. And so there's that myth that all artists are suffering in some way. And yes, it's true that suffering many times brings beautiful pieces of art. But it shouldn't make us afraid to heal. And I do think I see quite a bit of that. Because let me tell you, as someone that has gone through so much healing, there are still days when I feel low. And in those moments, I'm able to create because they naturally happen. I don't go looking for them, but they naturally happen. Ebbs and flows happen in every life. And I'm able to create in those pockets, but I'm also able to know that that darkness will end. And it does affect my writing and it does affect my art in a good way because I'm able to touch that darkness, know that darkness, go through that darkness, but not be overcome by it and shut down or self-medicate or be overrun with hopelessness. So don't worry. That fear of fulfillment makes a lot of sense to me. The fourth is a fear of forgiveness. This has many different levels to it too. There can be a fear of forgiving yourself. There can also be a fear of forgiving those who have wronged you. And that's hard because I don't think you need to lead with, I'm going to try and forgive this person. Because I have forgiven people in a way that I never thought I would, which is by letting them be, letting them go, letting it go. And that can be its own form of forgiveness. But I think a lot of times we want to see punishment enacted over the people that have hurt us. For the queer community, it can be very obvious in a rage against those who have hurt us. And it makes sense, but it also doesn't help us feel whole. For us to hold on to resentment against someone who doesn't accept us for who we are. So forgiveness is a huge, huge part of that fear around healing, because you can feel that bitterness and say, I'm angry, and I don't think that I can stop being angry, so I don't know if I can heal. That's not true. You can heal and be angry. Anger is a part of healing. Feeling those emotions is a part of it. But learning to love yourself, eventually you may come to a point, it doesn't have to be your main intention, where you do forgive others because you understand how to love yourself, and you can see potentially the pain that person is going through, even though they hurt you. And you can be like, man, I am sorry that you inflicted that pain on me, because that sucks that you propagated more pain into the world and you hurt more people in the world and yourself, and you put this separation between us having a healthy relationship. And that can happen. It doesn't have to happen that way. You could stop thinking about that person or that entity in the same way, and that could be enough. So if that fear of forgiveness is stopping you from healing, I would say don't worry about it. Don't think about having to forgive. And the fifth, number 5, is the fear of fraudulence. And that happens a little later on within healing. And it might come up when you think that you have really gotten to a place that's really healthy, and then something happens and you make a mistake, or you flip out at someone that you thought that you had built your relationship back with, and then you can feel like all that work you did was for nothing. It's not true. It's just a part of the journey. You don't deserve pain. You will have pain in your life. You don't deserve it. It's just something that will happen. And that's it. That fear of fraudulence is just expectation that we put on ourselves. It's not reasonable, and it's not even necessary. You are going to make decisions throughout your life where hopefully you've set yourself up to understand the healthiest decision to make, and you make that decision as often as possible. But when you don't make it, inevitably, when you don't make it, that doesn't mean that all of that healing was for nothing. It's not, and you know it. You will know it. As you go through your healing, you will say, you know what, this is worth it. I feel so much better for having tried, because the further you move forward, the less far you have to fall when you inevitably do make a misstep. I am very against the whole hero worship of people and this idea that we are going to know, once we know what to do, then we're never going to make the decision against that thing we know to do. That's just not true. We're going to. And anyone that says any differently, well, I'm scared of them. And I'm scared for them, because that is an expectation that it's unreasonable. So be kind to yourself. Understand that all of those 5 fears apply to both trauma recovery and something as simple as getting on your yoga mat. And to me, those things are one and the same. And I hope to share more with you on how to make those one and the same for you. No, you do not have to be fit to do yoga. No, it is not a workout when you do it with me unless you want it to be. It's a workout for your mind and your body, sure, but it's not just a way to get fit in an aesthetic way. All right, I'm rambling. I hope you subscribe and I hope you enjoyed that. And yes, soon I will share a little bit more of my personal story with you. If you'd like that, you can comment below. If there are more fears that you have about going onto the mat or to face your healing, please tell me below. Comment, engage. My name is Chris. Have a beautiful day. I love you.